Welcome to GODSpeed, where truth meets life in under 10 minutes. I'm AK, and this is hope for your journey.
Just about every person you meet, regardless of their age or their income, has money problems. Some are on how to make it, others on where to spend it, and most on how to keep it. But what if I told you the amount isn't the most important factor? Now let me set the stage. We find Jesus teaching his chosen disciples. These are the men who want to learn to live like Jesus and experience life in full. And then a crowd gathered. And as he teaches, there's an outburst from the crowd that leads to a moment where Jesus can share a parable. And he uses this fictional story to have a teachable moment because it has very real implication for the listeners and for you. This text comes from Luke chapter 12, verses 13 through 21. Someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." But he said to him, "Man, who made me a judge or arbitrator over you?" And he said to them, "Take care and be on your guard against all covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions." And he told them a parable, saying, "The land of a rich man produced plentifully. And he thought to himself, 'What shall I do? For I have nowhere to store my crops.' And he said, 'I will do this. I will tear down my barns and build large ones. And there I will store all my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry.' But God said to him, 'Fool, this night your soul is required of you. And the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So is the one who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God." Money problems aren't really about money or materials. They're about our measures. I want to share two ideas from this passage and part of my story that can help us reimagine wealth, possessions, and contentment. So the heart of this problem is discontent. The way this story is told is through a very common problem: family members arguing over wanting more. In this time period, the firstborn son was typically given a double portion of inheritance as part of his birthright. It was a tradition meant to ensure he could care for the family. So I find this other sibling's desire particularly interesting because it's an inheritance. They didn't do anything to earn it. It was passed down to them. But yet, here's this part of us that still believes we deserve more than we are allotted or given. And many of us can relate to these family disputes over fairness, whether it's inheritance, attention, opportunities. The underlying issue isn't really about the money or the materials or the possessions. It's about subjectively feeling appropriately valued and given our worth. Discontent keeps us in a cycle where no amount will ever satisfy us because there's always more, something better or a new level to reach. Can you spot that in yourself like I can? Did you enjoy your car until you saw your neighbor's new truck? Or went shopping because you no longer liked anything in your closet? But isn't it also full of items you once went shopping for? Maybe it was a career goal and you swore once you got that promotion or salary, you'd be good. Only to find that good wore off after the first few paychecks. Discontent is brought about by comparison. You're not just wanting more, you're wanting more than someone else has. The inheritance dispute wasn't really about feeling valued. It was about feeling like someone else got what they deserved. So Jesus pleads, protect yourself from all forms of covetousness. That word covetousness means an excessive desire for wealth, possessions, or for things that belong to someone else. Because if your aim is wealth, comfort, or status, you won't ever have enough. And honestly, it would never satisfy you anyway. And this leads to the next idea. We are often using the wrong measure, which impacts how we look at our outcomes. A quick question for you. What game are you playing? Your possessions, bank account, and assets can be counted and have a value, but are they actually a reflection of your entire value as a human? Do you realize you're able to change the scoreboard? We often measure success by salary, our worth by net worth, security by a savings account, but Jesus is saying it's the wrong measure. When you use money as the primary measure of life success, you always come up short, either because you don't have enough, or because you're constantly afraid of losing what you have, or seeing that you can't actually buy the contentment you desire. But faith, peace, joy, love, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control are very hard to measure, but they are significant drivers of the good life. These are the things that Jesus calls us to. And if you have time, I would encourage you to read further down, where eventually you'll land at verses 33 and 34, where Jesus gives this answer. He says, sell your possessions, give to the needy, provide yourselves with money bags that do not grow old, with a treasure in the heavens that does not fail, where no thief approaches and no moth destroys, for where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. In summary, he's saying live and serve others, build a relationship with God because it is something far more valuable and it will last eternally. And to be honest with you, this message all challenges me. If you're ever to look in a book where you can find it, you'll see a subtitle that says, Parable of the Rich Fool. And it scares me because I see how much like this man it would be easy to become in thinking and mindset if I lived for what the world constantly tells me to do. My greatest fear is to get to the end of my life and see I lived it for all the wrong reasons. Don't miss this. This story isn't about rich people being purely evil or good people just being poor or giving away everything you own. It's about redefining what makes a life rich. The fool in Jesus' story wasn't foolish because he was successful or because he made money. He was foolish because he thought his full barns and material comforts meant his soul was fulfilling its purpose. I remember having a conversation with my parents, who are not people of extraordinary means, even though they've worked really hard and done incredibly well. And they talked about how their parents passed them inheritance not of money, but one of faith, by living an example where they chased after God and trusted him no matter what. They gave them a faith that could sustain them through the hardest seasons of life. And if I'm honest, I think that's far more valuable than any dollar denomination would have gotten them. God, give me wisdom to define a rich life differently, to trust you more in what I cannot see than seeking my own comfort in what I can pile up. Thank you for always being good. Amen.
I will always love you how I do. Let go of a prayer for you. Just a sweet word